Immediately following Princess Astrid of Sweden's death in an automobile accident, her husband, King Leopold of Belgium, made a gut-wrenching request. Possessing a sweet countenance and a heart of gold to match, there's good reason the beautiful Astrid of Sweden was the beloved queen of the Belgians, until her utterly tragic end took the royal far too soon. From her fairy tale beginning to the nightmare of her final hours, Astrid was like a long-lost princess from a storybook. To suggest Astrid was born with a silver spoon in her mouth is a significant understatement. It was more akin to a solid gold ladle. Born on November 17, 1905, this intense Scorpio was the third daughter of Prince Karl and Princess Ingeborg of Sweden. As the lovely youngest member of the family, the royals frequently doted on Princess Astrid. Sadly, this fact only intensifies the heartbreak of her eventual fate. There hadn't been any Swedish princesses in the royal lineage for quite some time, and the public welcomed the three royal daughters with immense excitement. Indeed, when Astrid's elder sister Margareta had her confirmation in 1916, it ignited a complete media frenzy. However, Princess Astrid would soon surpass even her popular sibling in renown. There exists an aspect of the Swedish royal family unfamiliar to many. Astrid's mother, Ingeborg, stood as one of the most competent figures within the Swedish aristocracy, yet she displayed a gentler demeanor concerning her children. Astrid's relatives formed a loving, close-knit family unit, known around Sweden as the Happy Family. This designation, however, didn't imply absolute perfection. Today, Princess Astrid is cherished in Sweden, but she wasn't invariably held in such high esteem within her own family. She may have been the youngest, but she wasn't her mother's preferred child. After all, Ingeborg was boisterous and self-assured, whereas Astrid had always been gentle and reserved. Instead, Ingeborg directed her primary affections towards Astrid's older sister Martha, who was outgoing and bold. People often imagine royals living in extreme luxury, but the reality was far more nuanced. Astrid's parents desired a simple upbringing for their children, even installing a functional stove in their play cottage, so they could learn to prepare actual meals. For them, practical labor held more value than royal etiquette. They would greatly require this work ethic later on. In 1922, tragedy befell the happy Swedish royal family when the stock market crash occurred, wiping out nearly all their investments. Still a teenager, the young Princess Astrid observed in dismay as her mother faced near-complete bankruptcy and was forced to sell off their assets. Another turn of fate loomed just after her 20th birthday. Astrid's parents began surveying the eligible bachelors across Europe. After all, securing a royal husband for her became crucial now that their finances were depleted. It was an encounter with destiny. In due course, Astrid met Prince Leopold of Belgium. The couple became instantly captivated by each other, and Astrid embarked on a genuine fairy tale romance. At first, Astrid ranked among the most stunning princesses of her era, making it unsurprising that Leopold knew he must have her from the moment he laid eyes on her. Yet they concealed a secret behind closed doors. Instead of marrying right away, servants repeatedly observed a butler entering and leaving Astrid's residence. Indeed, this was actually Leopold in disguise, meeting his beloved in semi-secrecy. Astrid and Leopold were notoriously, some might even say uncomfortably, fond of public displays of affection. Wherever they ventured, observers saw them holding hands and cuddling. They even maintained evident physical closeness during official functions, a rather significant behavior for royals in the 1920s. In the autumn of 1926, Astrid and Leopold formally declared their engagement, summoning journalists for a press conference. Leopold's parents, King Albert I and Queen Elizabeth, couldn't resist boasting, "It is a marriage of love. Tell it to our people." Very few royals experienced love matches during that period, and Leopold and Astrid were considered the fortunate exceptions. When Astrid and Leopold held their royal church wedding on November 10, 1926, it was a fairy tale event for the history books. The celebrations in Brussels commenced with a 21-gun salute, but the crowds were so vociferous that the shots were barely perceptible. It was hardly surprising. Astrid looked magnificent in a cream-colored wrapped gown, complemented by a veil crafted from Belgian lace. Don't be misled by her angelic appearance. Beneath Astrid's sweet exterior resided an iron will no man could bend. Despite admonitions from her formal court officials, Astrid was resolute in living her life her way and frequently slipped out to experience things normally. On one occasion, while her husband participated in a procession, she went so far as to observe him from amidst the common onlookers. Leopold and Astrid had 3 children together: Josephine, Charlotte, Baudouin, and Albert. Much like her own parents, Astrid endeavored to raise them without excessive royal formality. The family often resided in a modest villa within the palace grounds, and Astrid still delighted in cooking for them herself rather than delegating it to staff. Except it wasn't long before Astrid's spirited side emerged once more. Astrid was adored by nearly all her subjects in both Sweden and Belgium. They described her as tender, understanding, and profoundly human. However, she also garnered some formidable adversaries within the palace. The most conservative and haughty members of the court tended to disapprove of her democratic inclinations, but Astrid possessed the perfect method for handling them. Astrid enjoyed taking her children for strolls along Brussels' bustling Avenue Louise, which utterly enraged one of her court aides for violating protocol. When the aide reprimanded her, she offered the ideal response. She might have been unassuming, but she was certainly not foolish. Innocently, she retorted, "But I am just another mother, am I not?" On February 17, 1934, everything altered for Princess Astrid. On this date, her cherished father-in-law, King Albert I of Belgium, died suddenly during a mountaineering accident. Without any prior warning, the grieving Princess Astrid became the queen consort of the Belgians. Although, as we shall see, she had precious little time to savor her new title. Following the tragic loss of her father-in-law, Astrid made a poignant decision. She was pregnant at the time of King Albert's accident, and when she delivered a healthy baby boy shortly thereafter, she named the infant Albert in remembrance of the grandfather the young heir would never know. Perhaps in an attempt to enhance their opportunities for that beloved PDA, Astrid and Leopold frequently traveled incognito. For their honeymoon, they might have taken things a step further, possibly misrepresenting their travel plans by stating they were bound for Egypt and Switzerland while actually heading to France. Regrettably, this practice would soon have dire consequences. Astrid truly deserved a happily ever after. Not only was Leopold deeply enamored with her, but he was also prepared to risk everything for that affection. When she went into labor with their second child while Leopold was away, her Prince Charming abandoned all his crucial meetings to return home for the birth. Not a common action for men of that era. Astrid was quite a tall figure, a tall drink of Sweden spring water. Although her precise height in feet and inches is unknown, her mother-in-law, Queen Elizabeth, who was often described as short herself, used to comment approvingly that Astrid possessed the perfect height to meet her son Leopold's gaze. Never one for hasty decisions, Astrid took her time deliberating whether to convert, royal pressures notwithstanding. She even sought counsel from a Catholic priest regarding her faith and only converted literally years after their nuptials. Yet when she did embrace Catholicism, she did so wholeheartedly. As she explained her choice to a childhood friend, she stated, "My soul has found peace." Things might have unfolded very differently for Astrid had she not married Leopold. One of the other men her parents contemplated for her match was the then Prince of Wales, Edward VIII of the United Kingdom. Given that Edward eventually relinquished his throne to marry the divorcee Wallis Simpson, it was likely advantageous that this possibility never materialized. The year 1935 marked the occasion when Queen Astrid of Belgium demonstrated her strength of character. The nation was grappling with an economic crisis, and Astrid immediately stepped forward to comfort her people. She not only visited the impoverished but also authored the Queen's Appeal, an open letter that aided in collecting supplies for those affected. Sadly, however, 1935 was also the year Astrid encountered her gravest tragedy. Like any true Swede, Astrid embraced the outdoors. Among her preferred sports were skiing, along with horseback riding, swimming, and even golf. These were not merely leisurely pursuits. These activities also contributed to shaping her statuesque, athletic physique that ultimately captivated the common populace. Leopold and Astrid's wedding may have been a real-life romance, but it generated considerable scandal. Prior to the church ceremony in Belgium, let me assure you, marrying a prince certainly has its benefits. As a wedding gift, the Belgian government presented Princess Astrid with an exquisite tiara adorned with 11 enormous diamonds. Astrid might have been a simple woman familiar with practical work, but she wasn't declining that offering. Following her royal engagement, Astrid became a phenomenon. Wax effigies of the Swedish beauty appeared in shops, and newsreel footage of the future Queen of Belgium played in cinemas. People even began writing to publications requesting Astrid's famous endive salad recipe that had so effectively secured her a prince. Astrid attended finishing school, completing her aristocratic education. While there, she studied the conventional feminine skills such as piano, ballet, and childcare. The future queen consort of Belgium even dedicated her spare time to volunteering at an orphanage. Astrid and her family were so fundamental to Sweden's national identity that they even inspired a cake named in their honor. The Swedish princess cake is a layered confection covered with marzipan named after Astrid and her sisters. Astrid's beautiful sisters achieved almost comparable success. Her eldest sister Margaretha married Prince Axel of Denmark, while the middle sister Martha wed the Crown Prince of Norway. Sadly, Martha passed away before ascending to the throne. Naturally, this was insignificant compared to Astrid's destiny. Astrid and her siblings frequently shopped unaccompanied for the latest fashions on Stockholm streets. While some royal wives have encountered difficulties gaining acceptance into the family, Astrid faced no such trouble. Elizabeth once remarked about the charming, sweet Astrid, "I might not have succeeded in finding for my son an ideal bride, but Leopold has done more. He has found for me an ideal daughter-in-law." Although she lived only a short time before her life was tragically cut short, Astrid acquired several legendary nicknames. People referred to her as the Snow Princess or the Snow Queen, and it even snowed on her wedding day to Leopold. Once the common people became enamored with her, they also dubbed her the Queen of Hearts. If there's one essential thing to understand about Queen Astrid, it's that she descended from spirited Swedish lineage. Mama Ingeborg, in particular, was a formidable woman. As a form of protest against Germany during World War II, the Queen Dowager once even obstructed the palace window facing the German embassy. As observed beneath her tranquil exterior, Astrid could be equally radical. To encourage Belgians to consume healthy beverages and reduce intake of those famous lagers, Astrid helped establish Milk Week and even tasked one of her staff members with reporting on milk regulations globally. Astrid wasn't merely gorgeous, she was renowned worldwide for her beauty. With her light hair, wide eyes, and sweet face, Astrid was considered the attractive one in her family, and upon reaching maturity, one of the most eligible royals in Europe. In August 1935, Astrid and Leopold were enjoying another incognito vacation, this time in Switzerland. They had brought their two eldest children with them to their Swiss villa for the majority of the trip, but later in the month, they sent the children back to Belgium with their nannies to enjoy some private time together. Sadly, this decision led to disaster. The king and queen opted for a mountain hike amongst the Swiss pear trees on August 29, 1935. Being no-fuss monarchs, they even insisted their chauffeur occupy the back seat on the journey there, while Leopold drove and Astrid navigated. This proved to be a fatal error. At some point during their drive to the hiking trail, Astrid, consulting her map, pointed towards something outside her window. It was an innocent enough action, but it yielded devastating results. Leopold, following her gesture, likely diverted his gaze from the steep, mountainous road for a single second, and a mere second was all that was needed. In the subsequent moments, a horrific event unfolded, one Leopold could never retract or forgive himself for. With the king driving, the vehicle veered off the road, plunged down a steep embankment, and rapidly collided with a tree. The impact ejected Leopold entirely from the car, but when the chaos subsided, he realized his beloved wife had suffered far worse. Astrid remained a determined fighter until the very end. As the car tumbled down the mountain slope, she had attempted to save herself by opening the door and rolling out. Tragically, this attempt failed. The vehicle was moving too quickly and violently, and the queen was also thrown from the car, her body striking another pear tree. Since the king and queen of Belgium had been traveling incognito and with minimal staff, no one was nearby to offer immediate medical assistance. Regrettably, this was precisely what Astrid required. Instead, she passed away at the scene of the accident shortly after 9:30 a.m. on that August morning. When the world received the shocking news, it immediately fell into mourning. Masses of people attended the Snow Queen's funeral, although none could truly comprehend how such a horrific event could befall someone so good. Astrid now rests in her adopted homeland of Brussels, but that wasn't the final word about her. To this day, macabre mementos of Astrid's final minutes remain near her place of death. A museum close to the site of her fatal accident preserves not only a fragment from the windshield of her wrecked car, but also a section of the pear tree her body impacted. For those less inclined towards the Gothic, mourners also constructed a small chapel for her at the crash site, which remains a popular pilgrimage spot for individuals wishing to honor the Snow Queen's memory. Today, Astrid still lives on. No fewer than two of her grandchildren are currently reigning monarchs, King Philippe of Belgium and Henri, Grand Duke of Luxembourg. She is also second cousins with the late Queen Elizabeth II's husband, Prince Philip. Leopold was overcome with grief and guilt after causing the death of his beloved wife. In fact, he could barely endure thinking about that fateful day. Consequently, he made a chilling request. Instead of ever retrieving the vehicle he was driving, he instructed his men to submerge the car into the depths of Lake Lucerne, near where the royal couple had fatally crashed. In conclusion, Princess Astrid's life, though tragically short, exemplified grace, love, and devotion. Born into royalty, she might have been expected to live out a life of luxury and rigid formality, but Astrid's true character defied such expectations. Despite the royal trappings, she embraced simplicity, warmth, and a deep connection with those around her, from her love for her family to her commitment to serving her people. Her story reads like that of a fairy tale princess, beautiful, beloved, and cherished by her family and subjects alike. Astrid's marriage to King Leopold of Belgium was a testament to a love that transcended the constraints of royal duties. Their public displays of affection and the simplicity of their private moments showed a rare and refreshing side of royalty, one grounded in humanity. However, the tragic accident that took her life cut short the promise of a brighter future for Belgium, leaving behind a nation in mourning. The suddenness of her death added to the heartbreak felt by those who loved her, both in Sweden and Belgium. Despite her untimely passing, her legacy endures. She is remembered not just for her beauty, but for her deep compassion and unwavering love for her family and people. Astrid's death left a void that could never be filled, but her memory continues to inspire. The enduring affection with which she is regarded by her family, including her descendants who now sit on thrones, is a testament to her lasting impact. The Snow Queen, as she was affectionately known, remains an icon of grace, kindness, and royal dignity, and her story is one of love, sacrifice, and the fragility of life. Even decades after her passing, her memory is kept alive through the small chapel near her accident site, where people continue to honor the Snow Queen's legacy. In many ways, Astrid's life and death serve as a reminder of the beauty and brevity of life, a life filled with love, compassion, and selflessness, cut short by a cruel twist of fate. The world may have lost a beloved queen, but Princess Astrid's spirit lives on in the hearts of those who remember her. Her story is one of true royalty, not just by birth, but by the way she lived her life and the legacy she left behind.